Welcome to Star Wars Timeline. My name is Ben, and today we're doing the review of the Bad Batch Episode 5 called Rampage. A quick reminder, if you guys haven't seen my previous video reviews, I'll provide the links in the video description below so you could follow episode by episode and see my overall impression of the show so far. Now, spoiler alert. In this video, I'll be discussing the plotline, characters, my impression of it, and so forth. So you have been warned. Now, let's jump straight into the story. This episode seamlessly continues from the previous one, where the Bad Batch is on the run from the bounty hunter Fennec Shand, who is after Omega. The crew is looking for an old Jedi contact called Sid, and they mentioned the planet Ord Mantell. You guys may remember it from the original saga, where Han Solo casually mentions the planet. And when the ship lands on the surface, we're treated with spectacular visuals. Something I would compare to live action rather than animation. And what's cool to note here, that Ord Mantell looks precisely how the Hildebrand brothers painted it for the Star Wars Insider magazine and also for the Shadows of the Empire campaign. It's a multimedia campaign that featured a video game and so forth, and there's depictions of Ord Mantell in there. I'll throw the pictures on the screen so you guys could compare it and appreciate it with the episode when you see it. So the crew goes into this shady part of town and they enter this ragtag cantina and greeted by a bartender. They obviously drop the name, they're looking for Sid, and they're not being accommodated at all. And what's cool here, once again, Omega and her empathy or Jedi abilities, whatever you want to call it, she's instantly able to identify the bartender as like, oh, okay, you're Sid. And Sid is somebody who wants a job done for her in return. She's not just willing to give the information to them for free. She's asking them to rescue a child called Moochie. And obviously, because of the name of the episode, Rampage, I knew there was going to be some plot twist, but I really enjoyed how the play on words and how they tried to keep this little mystery going in the episode pretty successfully. I mean, after all, this is a children's show. We adults watching it, and scrutinizing every detail, we probably picked up, there's going to be probably not the child they're looking for. But I felt that the episode did it pretty well. So Hunter and the Bad Batch crew, they scout out the Zargarian encampment. Those are the slave traders who have this little fortress there with slaves, people taken hostage. And it's cool that we see a reverse of roles here. The Bad Batch crew stumble and they get instantly caught. And now it's up to Omega, who they told to wait in the ship. It's up to her to rescue them now. I felt it was pretty exciting and I couldn't wait how the episode was going to unfold. Omega as a rescuer is always, interesting and charming for me. And once again, we see that she's quite a resourceful and smart young person. She's able to kind of like look around into her environment and see what she could take advantage of. And once she sees that huge cage, that's where she goes. And we understand from that point forward, things are just going to get crazy. Obviously, all hell breaks loose. We understand that in this cage, there's a baby Rancor who suddenly jumps out and starts just jumping at everybody, smashing Zargarians and creatures, everybody around. And I would say we're treated in this episode to sort of kind of like monster flick action, the recent Godzilla versus King Kong kind of stuff. Pretty interesting. It's all kind of harkens back to the old school sci-fi fiction that even George Lucas was inspired to, something like Buck Rogers' old school sci-fi show. In the ensuing action, the Bad Batch gets free, they combat the Zargarian slave traders and win them, and they're able to subdue the baby Rancor. Obviously, it's the Wrecker who has to jump into the fray, and they're being told that the only way to bring down this baby Rancor is to show that he's the alpha, that he can, control and subdue her. There's pretty interesting and exciting moments where he mounts the creature and he knocks it over the head. I felt it was pretty interesting gag and slapstick. It's just overall enjoyable to watch. Not all the action necessarily need to be grounded in seriousness, in darker tone. We need to have some fun in the show as well. And this episode definitely delivers in that regard. I absolutely adore Omega's playful nature here. In the beginning of the episode, they give her Crosshair's guard protector, this gauntlet, which has the radio. And always they teach her, you have to stay in the radio contact. If you are lost, give us your location and hide, stay from praying eyes. But she uses it as a toy because she's a child. She doesn't know any better. And she's like in the same area in the vicinity of the Bad Batch. She would use it to contact them. It's like, hey guys, here. And she points out to the Sid when she identifies the contact. She's like, she's right here. And Sid actually replies back and says, oh, okay, she's the bright one. So I felt it was pretty fun and exciting. Overall, I would compare this episode to a chapter from Mandalorian live action show. It's very much grounded in that kind of like criminal underworld and, the bounty job giver, and they have to fulfill this task to get the information that they need. And also, it was more in line with the original Star Wars saga because of all the sound effects, the swoop bikes, and like the technology that we see around. It's kind of like gives us the passage of time. We're transitioning from the Clone Wars era into the Galactic Empire. Again, successfully done, very interesting, and it's for adults like us, for guys who grew up with the original saga. I was like, yeah, I believe it. Just hearing those swoop bike sounds was like, okay, that this is something for us. A very cool treat. And of course, the biggest surprise of this episode, which I wanted to save the last, who is the job giver who asks Sid to retrieve this little rancor? It's no other than Bib Fortuna, the Jabba the Hutt's personal majordomo, and he actually lands on the Ord Mantell with the retinue of 2 Gamorreans, which I felt was completely just blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, it's Bib Fortuna, and he's there to pick up this baby rancor and take her home. And now I want to talk about where this episode could possibly lead to. First thing first, Fennec Shand. It's the question is being raised: who hired her? Omega seems to be a very highly prized target. So the person is probably paying Fennec Shand obscene amount of money. I know a lot of fans are speculating it could be either Governor Tarkin or maybe even Sidious himself. If the girl indeed possesses, Force abilities, he might want her for some kind of experiments. I am pretty sure we haven't seen the last of Sid. This opens the room that the Bad Batch needs to go into hiding, which means they have to be more connected in the underground world. They probably will deal with more smugglers or, become mercenaries themselves. So I feel like the show is going to build upon that character and maybe even serve as a haven for refugee Jedi, which, Darth Vader is hunting now. There's a Jedi purge going on in this part of the time period of the Star Wars. I would be interested to see how the Sith is being utilized. Maybe even somebody like Mace Windu, a survivor of the Order 66, manages to find his way into Ord Mantell. And last but not least, again, it was such a joy and delight to see Bib Fortuna and 2 Gamorreans, bodyguards. I hope they go into the Hutt cartel. If not Jabba the Hutt himself, give us more of that criminal underworld like Nal Hutta and all these other kind of like planets which the Hutt Syndicate controls. I would love to see it in the future. Anyway, I thought this episode was great. Nothing but excitement from the show. It manages to change the pace and give us a more kind of like still action-oriented but humorous episode. I completely loved it. Guys, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. I would like to engage you and have a conversation about this episode. My name is Ben. I do Star Wars books, comic book reviews, character highlights, lore videos, and so on. If you enjoy this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel, hit that bell button, and I will see you next time. Take care.